Okay, so here we go. Welcome to another one of the Cleveland CMSD Fab Lab STEM Lab workshops, teacher workshops for the East Professional Center STEM Lab. Remember, this is the lab that was provided for Cleveland from the Cavs. So the Cleveland Cavaliers and Goodyear donated a ton of money to the district. And we built this professional lab for teachers like yourselves to be able to learn how to use digital fabrication and STEM in their curriculum, not just working with STEM teachers or engineering teachers or even science or math teachers, but working with teachers across all disciplines, art teachers, English teachers, anybody. The picture on the board, actually, that's a group of special ed and occupational therapists at Orchard Elementary who were building a sensory wall with their vinyl cutter. So they're not core content teachers at all, but they're getting their hands dirty with digital fabrication and making some great stuff for their kids. So the Professional Development Lab at East, we're holding workshops around 3D printing, vinyl cutters. We're going to be doing some with electronics and some laser workshops. We, of course, have our machine library where we've got tons of different things that can be rented or checked out. 3D printers, vinyl cutters, heat press machines, button makers, and electronic kits. And then all the consumables you could possibly need. And we can also always order more if you have something specific, from filament for the printers, vinyl, papers, electronic stuff, t-shirts, supplies, button supplies, art supplies, everything you can think of. So we'll be having at least one supply day a month where you can come in after school and kind of check out what we've got and talk about how you can use that stuff in your classrooms, and then either grab some of those consumables to take home with you, or if you've completed a workshop and training, you get to borrow one of the machines if you don't already have one in your classroom. Well, good, Sean is here. Hi, Sean. So thinking about how this works, we've got our little rotation of our training sessions here. We're going to start with a training just like this one. We used to do these in person. Now it actually, not only are we going to be doing them virtually for COVID reasons, but it also just, I think, makes a little more sense for teacher schedules. The less time they got to spend hustling and bustling and schlepping around, the better. So we're going to do this training session. Then we're going to move on over here to the independent work session, where you're going to work through a series of activities to show that you understand the technology and have learned the software or programs required to be able to utilize that technology. This is totally self-paced. So some teachers are going to go through this workshop and feel crazy motivation and spend the next week or maybe winter break just bustling through those activities, so that come that January 3rd, they're ready to come in and do the next part, which is a machine training. We'll actually come into East and learn how to use the physical machine. Some of you might go through this workshop and say, this sounds amazing, but I don't really have time for this. I'm going to do this over the summer, which is fine. Then we can pick up that machine training either before school starts next fall or even moving into the fall. It's totally up to you how quickly or slowly you want to kind of work through those home exercises. And those could be done totally on your own if you feel like you can handle them, or I can be here for you with support along the way. And we'll talk more about those exercises as we finish up today's training workshop. After you go through that machine in-person training, after you go through that machine in-person training here, you're going to go to the taking the machine with you. So you're going to leave, you're going to check out that 3D printer or button maker or vinyl cutter. You're welcome to take it home first. I actually encourage you to take these machines back to your own home to play around with them a little bit in your classroom. I want you to get totally comfortable with it before you we don't want you just thrown to the lions and working with these machines with your kids right away. But eventually you are going to bring them into your classroom and do some great stuff with your kiddos. And then the whole process can repeat itself. So after you've gone through the process with a 3D printer and you've got one of those and you're excited, then you can come back and do the vinyl cutter one, or you can come back and do electronics or button making. For the renting out of machines, that as of right now, we don't really have a waiting list. So we have more 3D printers than we do have teachers who are interested in going through this process. So if that remains the case, then the machines are yours to keep for as long as you are using them and as long as you work for the district. So if you were to leave CMSD, you would need to return the machines. But if you were to change schools within the district, that machine would follow you around. hopefully we will soon have more and more and more teachers who are interested in working with this program. And if that's the case, then you'll be able to rent these machines for 1 quarter. At the end of the quarter, you'll bring the machines back in and another teacher would be able to rent them. So this is, we're going to be using the Silhouette vinyl cutter. The software that you're going to be using is Silhouette Studio, and we're going to actually, it's going to be part of your homework to download it. So we'll come back to this later on how you can download the software, but this machine does actually use a software program. It isn't like 3D printing where you can design things with Tinkercad online. You do need to actually download a software to be able to work directly with the machine and to design stuff. So we call them vinyl cutters, but really it's just an electronic cutting machine. We most often cut vinyl, but we don't only cut vinyl. We can cut through paper, we can cut through fabric, some like thin cardboard pieces, chipboard or things like that. You can cut through leather pieces. So it's not just for vinyl. You can also draw some things. So the cameos do have these little markers that can be put into the machine too. So instead of just cutting out your designs out of paper, you could draw them onto white or whatever neutral paper you'd like. So before we keep going, Sean and Sharon and Sean again, well, we've got a lot of Sean and Sharon. Do any of you guys have experience working with a vinyl cutter?
I have a Cricut.
Okay, Sharon, you've got a Cricut. Sean, how about you?
No. Sorry. You gotta delineate which Sean.
I know, I'm sorry. How about Miss Thomas?
Okay. No real experience.
Okay. And Sean, Mr. Carruthers, you and I worked with the Cameo over the summer a little, right?
Yeah, but actually I didn't work on the Cameo. I worked on the other one, and then you let me take the Cameo. So I've been kind of trying to figure stuff out, watching videos and stuff on my own a little bit. Not quite as efficient as working here with you and getting to know the ins and outs, but it's been a struggle, but that's all right.
Well, that is the one thing about that when you think about a vinyl cutter or a paper cutter, you think, oh, this is paper, this is stickers. It should be easier than 3D, like 3D printers have a little bit more gravitas, but actually getting started working with a 3D printer, I think is much easier than working with a 2-dimensional design software program. Or these machines tend to be a little more finicky than a 3D printer. So I think folks tend to go into it being like, oh, I can do the 3D printer, this is no problem. And then quickly kind of, silence themselves and take a step back. But essentially any of these machines, whether it be a Cameo or a Cricut, which is like a smaller personalized desktop machine, or maybe one of these larger like full scale vinyl cutters, which this piece here, this one's 3 feet across. So it's a pretty big machine. They're using like the same basic technology. The reason why we at the district use Silhouette Cameos versus a Cricut, they are very, very similar. So if you have experience with one, it will help you with the other. But the software that you use for a Silhouette, the Silhouette Studio, is a much stronger and more advanced software. So it can do much more than the Cricut software. Essentially, Cricut was kind of designed for home making, maybe like crafters, more on the crafter scrapbooky side, versus the Silhouette software was more modeled after a more advanced design software system like a Corel Draw or Adobe Illustrator. But they really do function the same way, which all machines, all of these vinyl cutters work the same way, the big ones or the small ones. They need to be hooked up to a computer. It's a computer controlled device. You design something in the computer and you're sending it to the printer or to the cutter, to the device, whatever you want to call it. This little bit right here, this white thing right in the middle that you can see moving up and down, there's an X-Acto knife in there. And the X-Acto knife is moving and cutting along the path that you designed on your file. It can, depending on what it's cutting through, it'll either push harder or push softer. So if it's just cutting through vinyl, it's going to push really slow, it won't push very hard at all, and it'll move quickly, versus if it was cutting through like a thicker piece of chipboard or maybe even something with glitter on it, it's going to push much harder. After the cutting part is complete, then you end up with a big piece of a vinyl on the top here that essentially looks exactly like it did when you put it into the machine. So here you can see it's cutting on this old piece of vinyl, but you can't actually see anything's happening. And that's just because those cuts are very, very tiny. So if you look kind of up here where my mouse is, you can see a little bit of a cut, maybe the outline of an M down here. The next part is called weeding. So weeding is when you weed away or you take away the unwanted bits, which is why weeds are called weeds in your garden. You go through your garden, you take away the unwanted plants. They got the nickname weeds. So weeding is removing the parts that you don't want, taking away this outside bit of the vinyl, so getting the outline of each of your letters. And then right here at the bottom picture, you can see the woman is using this special tool, which you'll get one of these little special tools. It's kind of similar to a crochet hook, but sharper, to go in and remove the inside bits of these letters. So I'm going to remove that inside circle part of the A and the E, this little loop up here in the R. After you've completely weeded your design, then you use transfer tape, which is the greatest stuff in the whole wide world. So here you can see this person is weeding. Next, they put a piece of clear transfer tape, which is essentially contact paper, on top of their design and smooth it out nice and to get rid of any air bubbles. That allows them to pick up their design completely. So instead of trying to move this bloom and grow maybe one letter at a time over to their final, looks like a cutting board or something here, you're able to move your whole design at once so that all of your letters kind of stay equally spaced and everything stays where it's supposed to be. So transfer tape is your friend. So we cut on vinyl, we weed the vinyl, then we use transfer tape to move our designs, as long as you are using vinyl, which is the most common product and where we're definitely going to start here. So common projects that teachers use these for, use these machines for, tend to be more for classroom organization. So most teachers start as using this as a tool for themselves that help their classrooms and like kind of assist pedagogy, and not necessarily as something that students are going to use right away. As teachers become more and more comfortable with it, then kids start making things or kids start designing stuff. But essentially most teachers start off with labels, labeling things for labeling drawers, putting teachers' names on the doors, making things of like what today's date is, what our agenda, what our homework assignment is, things like that. Maybe labeling like birthdays, but just a lot of labeling. This is particularly useful right now in that with COVID, a lot of our students are keeping things more separate or making sure they're reusing the same set of tools each class. So labeling things is definitely very useful. The next kind of level of common projects is to just do simple shapes. So not just using words, but also doing some shapes, whether that's creating these like nice little lights where maybe you're putting a light on in your classroom if students are free to move around and do work, or another light if they need to be quiet. There's this nice example of girls and boys passes that's right on some hand sanitizer, maybe making a computer sticker, or just a label for some water bottles. And actually, these are my favorite water bottles. You can get them at the dollar store for $1 each, and they're actually a pretty good water bottle. So I've bought those by the case before. The next kind of level of projects is doing paper projects. So you could do something as simple as just cutting out a simple shape. So instead of spending hours at the die cut machine like we used to, this teachers just cut out a bunch of cacti and use them for a bulletin board. You could also just cut out a simple happy birthday to make a card. Your kids could make happy birthday cards, happy Mother's Day cards, send those home, or even just cutting out pictures of their own faces for a silhouette project. You could get a little more complicated down here, which is cutting out two of the same shape. So cutting out two trees in this instance, and then making little slits in them so that they could be slid together to make a three-dimensional shape. And then also getting to these little push out cards. So a push out card is kind of like a type of pop-up card, but essentially you're not adding any paper. You're just cutting the paper and folding it in a very specific way. And the silhouette can actually cut through the paper where it needs to be cut here, so you can see the background. And then it'll also score the paper where it needs to be folded, which is very, very useful if you've ever done any pop-up work. Scoring can be challenging. And there's tons of these available online that you can just grab. You don't have to like design them yourself, but I'll teach you how to design them anyway. So paper, symbol labels with vinyl, then making some stickers that are shapes, doing some paper projects. Other really popular projects are using heat press vinyl, which is just a special kind of vinyl that using an iron or using a large heat press machine that can be ironed onto fabric. So we can make hats, we can make t-shirts, we make these like little vinyl book bags. It doesn't stick great to vinyl, or these little it's that like plastic, the athletic material. It doesn't stick so great, but it sticks well enough for the kids to love it. But these t-shirts are super fun. We have tons of them at East. So teachers who would like to do a t-shirt project can do, we can provide t-shirts for one class. So up to 34 kids per year. After that, you gotta get the t-shirts on your own, but we do have tons of heat press vinyl as well as tie-dye kits. The hats are difficult, but I do have a bunch of hats too. They require a special machine to be able to press them on there, but we've got that and you're welcome to borrow it too. But the kids all designed these different logos, or this was like a new logo for their school. Here they were doing something for Arbor Day. And then up here, this class had a like a tech club that they made t-shirts for. So they designed the logo and then were able to create the t-shirts as well. All of these projects are projects that we've done with kids in the district. There's tons of different variety here. So it's not just something that you can use for something to label your classroom, but your kids can get designing and can get making some things that they can really wear, and they can feel a little bit more prideful of just maybe like, you 3D print something, maybe you've got a keychain, but it's a little different to be wearing a t-shirt and saying, I made this, I designed this. So all of those projects kind of going similar to the conversation we had around 3D printing and like the different levels of designing around Bloom's taxonomy. Same thing works with the different levels of vinyl cutting. So that first level would just be cutting words. It's very simple to type words into the program, you press cut, and you've got some labels. The next layer would be making some shapes. So either making a bulletin board, making a sticker for your coffee cup or your computer or wherever you'd like to put a sticker. Next would be to design something. So you're still just cutting out some shapes, but maybe that shape has some words cut out of it, or maybe it has a deeper meaning. After that, you could be doing some academically focused projects, maybe around geography or art, math, or designing something on their own. You can do a whole PBL around making the students creating an artifact of their learning with the vinyl cutter, whether that be designing some kind of crazy logo for their science class and making t-shirts, or in the upper right there, the students picked a local nonprofit organization and created a new logo for them, and then created these stickers that they then sold around their schools and donated the money. Or you could even use these machines to construct pretty elaborate like architectural models. So you could cut it by hand with an X-Acto knife, or you can use this machine, which would allow you to think about how you can make two-dimensional things into three-dimensional projects. And lastly, there's these really beautiful kind of, if you take it the next level of bringing art into it, you could do some wonderful things by layering paper or making pop-up books. Is not easy, but it is definitely a great use of this type of technology. And then that at the bottom there, it's not a pop-up book, it just kind of, each of the different layers when put on top of each other makes a beautiful image. Sharon Sean, no, Sharon, I couldn't tell. So someone raise their hand. What's up?
It was me.
Okay.
When I had my Cricut, it didn't do a lot of the intricate work very well. Mm-hmm. How does the Cameo compare to doing intricate? I see there's some intricate work there in what's on the bottom right there.
It depends on how thick the paper is and how fast the blade is moving. So if the blade is not moving that fast, it can do more intricate work. There have been instances where things have cut and I haven't been really pleased with the level of intricacy, in which case I've gone in with like an X-Acto knife and kind of cleaned it up a little bit. But for the most part, I've found that I can find the setting that works the best.
Just playing.
Yeah, exactly. Playing around with it. This machine does come preset with settings. So if you say I'm cutting through 65-pound cardstock, the machine will know exactly how hard it should push, how fast the blade should move. And that'll be different if you say I'm cutting through 110-pound cardstock. But even then, it does need a little bit of tweaking. 100-pound cardstock that you might get at Staples is going to be different than 100-pound cardstock that you buy at Michael's. That is like scrapbook level paper that is a little bit of a shimmer to it. That's going to cut way nicer than the more cottony like blend that you just get at a coffee store. So thing. I like to test things if I'm doing more intricate art-like work, but I've been really happy with what I can kind of get out of it. The other thing is the sharpness of the blade. So if you're cutting something really intricate, you might want to have a like a spare blade that you save for special projects, and then have your blade, everyday blade kind of a thing. The blades aren't terribly expensive. It's about $20 to have a replacement blade. The Silhouette also has different blades that you can purchase. So you can purchase a fabric blade that is specially made to cut through fabric. You can buy a heavy duty blade, which will cut through thicker papers and thin cardboards. So there is a little bit more you can play around with that. Good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so while all of those projects are great, and anything that you do with this machine, we can also think about not only just making stuff, but how can we bring this back to our content? So we don't want kids just making stickers for the hell of it. We don't want them just, making t-shirts just because. We want this to somehow connect back to the content that you're teaching, or that other teachers in your class or your school are teaching, to make kind of interdisciplinary, more interesting projects that the kids can really be proud of. So this is one of our most popular projects that can be done with 3D printing or vinyl cutting or laser cutting. But these Adinkra symbols are a wonderful thing that aren't part of a traditional curriculum, but there is a lot of connections that can be made. Adinkras are a West African pictorial language out of the Ghana region of Africa. They were featured in the movie Black Panther, so the kids always get a kick out of that. Essentially, these symbols have different meanings, from love to friendship to kindness. They're kind of all pretty broad meanings such as that. For this activity, students do a little worksheet where they figure out what their 3 core values are. Maybe they're family, love, and friendship. They find the 3 existing Adinkra symbols that mean those 3 things. And then they go through a design process to design their own symbol that represents their 3 core values. So everyone has their own. It means something special to them. Those symbols could then be 3D printed or laser engraved, or we can make stickers out of them that the kids could put on their book bags, on their on water bottles, on anything that they'd like. Could also make journals. So here we engraved their symbols onto a journal, but it could also be made into a sticker that could be put onto a journal. You could just have students put their name on there with maybe a quote that means something specific to them. So they could have to do some research on a famous person or a famous quote, or they could just be used as like a great way to keep things organized. I love these little science notebooks, but we do have some really nice notebooks available, from these nice leather notebooks to some cardboard notebooks. We have some colorful notebooks for students. We've had some teachers do this kind of as a socio-emotional learning activity where it becomes like a private feelings journal. Other teachers have had them choose a quote by their favorite literary character, and then it becomes a journal in which they do exercises for their English class. There's a lot of opportunities here. The Silhouette activity is a really one of my favorite activities to do with a silhouette. And this isn't a vinyl project, this is a paper project. It also can go in a few different directions. So here students kind of make a list of all the things that are special to them, from places they visited to their favorite foods, things like that. We take a picture of each of the students. They stand at the front of the room in front of a whiteboard, and I take a picture of their silhouette. And then we quickly import that into the program, and I'll show you how to do that in a little while. And then we cut out their face. Then the students get to make 2 different pieces of artwork. With the negative space here, they fill their head with all of the things that are in their head, their favorite things. And then with the positive space here, they put it on a brightly colored piece of paper, and they write their age at the bottom, similar to those like old-timey kind of silhouette art. This can also go in other directions. I had an English teacher, again, take a more like SEL route to it. And instead of it being like, oh, what's your favorite food? It was much more about like, how do you emotionally respond to something? And the students filled it with their emotions. Another teacher had them pretend to be a character in a tricky situation from books that they had read throughout the year. And they had to write out inside of it. They actually like filled it with a little like few sentences or a short paragraph about how they think that character felt given that situation. So the same activity from a digital fabrication point of view can be kind of twisted a few different ways from a content perspective. Paper cut mandalas. So the sugar skulls for the Dia de los Muertos is a fun activity that can be done really simply up here. But these molas, I'm sorry, I said mandalas. These are molas, which is a type of art where even though this looks like it was painted on the turtle, that is also actually like layers of paper. So this is a very time consuming kind of, you have to really plan this out, but it is a very beautiful thing that you can make with the silhouette paper cutters. We talked about the water bottles or coffee cup before, so just making something similar. Hey, here's Deja's water bottle. But I had one science teacher take it a step farther, which was make a water bottle similar to this. Unfortunately, I don't have a photo of the ones that she actually made, but the kids kind of customized it on one side, and then they were able to do this whole, you know, how much water should you drink? Here's my water bottle. I don't know when I'm supposed to drink stuff. I just drink. But you know, you're supposed to drink this much by 8, this much by 9, etc. And it became a larger point or a larger part of her unit around biology and how water really affects the human body. And then they took it down on like clean water area of where places around the world where they don't have access to clean water. And then they learned about Flint, Michigan, and what's going on up there with their water issues. And it became kind of like a politically, or what's going on with the politics around that. So it started with just making a water bottle, and it really grew into a, like we said before, an interdisciplinary project. The periodic table, I've had a really fun with this project where the students all get to be a different element, and then they make their shirts, and then they kind of get information, if you will, and they make that living periodic of table as they all stand in the right spot. Nets, this is part of geometry for high school, but it's also part of 4th grade. For some reason, kids need to know like what happens when you unfold a cube in 4th grade. I think it's such a silly standard for elementary school, but this can make it a little bit more fun by students actually getting to make the nets with this machine. And again, the silhouette can not only cut out the shape, but can score the paper where it should be folded. We talked about that logo again, but we can, circling back to looking at the history of logos, how GE's logo hasn't really changed very much over time. But if you look at Pepsi's or Coca-Cola, their logos have changed dramatically. There's some interesting things around like color theory. And, you know, they say red makes you hungry. Does it really? Or does it just remind us of McDonald's and that makes us hungry? But there are some really intricate things that can happen with designing a logo. It's not just a design project. It can actually, I think it's more of like a social studies and an econ project where kids are, if they design a logo, they're going to put it on t-shirts, or they're going to put it on bumper stickers, or put it on water bottles. How much would they need to charge for that product? So it's not just, oh, this bottle, I can get this bottle for $1 at the dollar store. Well, how much does the vinyl cost? How much does the machine cost? What about labor? All of the things that go into it. And the kids can make like a little business plan for whatever object they're creating. Here we go. So all these projects I like to think about what are the different applications in different subjects. So maybe the teacher who's doing this project is actually a math teacher, and they want their kids to create water bottles that have at least 4 different polygons in them, and they have to find the area in the perimeter of their total logo or something like that. But just because you're a math teacher doesn't mean that the kids can't also create a business plan for their water bottles that they'll be selling, and maybe do some writing and create a slogan or maybe a jingle for it. So not just saying, oh, I'm a math teacher, I'm only going to do the math part of this project. Maybe the English teacher can do the English part if they want. Instead, taking it on yourself and say, you know, I'm going to do this interdisciplinary, more project-based learning in my own classroom, whether the other teachers are in or not. And then some other projects just that I really love, like we said, those push-out cards are beautiful, and there are so many designs you can get online, and I'm happy to share that resource with you. Making flowers, just doing some of these globes, I think that are that have the kids what do you call it, with the letters of your name, monogram. There's really some fun things where you get, this is one piece of paper and you fold it up in this cool way and make 3-dimensional animals. Making stickers for their cell phones, lanterns, snowflakes, making bulletin boards. There's some really cool things that you can do with this machine. And honestly, I haven't done all of these. Like, these flowers are gorgeous. I've never made these flowers before, but just by Googling to refresh this project, I found this, to refresh this presentation, I found this picture and thought, holy moly, those are so cool. I need to include them in here. So all of these projects can be made in Silhouette Studio. This software is free and it's relatively easy to use, so you can download it on all the computers in your classroom if you need to. It is a little trickier than Tinkercad. Tinkercad kind of you know, you see some shapes and you can kind of figure it out. Silhouette is easy if you're only going to do the basics. So if you're just going to make labels and make simple shapes of things for the next 20 years, great, silhouette's simple. But it can get really complex, from creating layered designs, from creating pop-up book things. It's a very powerful tool if you learn how to use it. We're going to keep with the simple stuff for now. And then, you know, if you decide to become a silhouette master, maybe over the next couple of years, decide to go to town and do crazy stuff, that's awesome. And I'm happy to help you with that. It does create professional looking things very quickly. So you can print out a sticker and slap it on your water bottle and it looks like you've made something custom, especially for like t-shirts or tote bags. It also has a really, really strong trace feature, which means we find pictures online and this can trace it for us. So if I am going to make this, I don't know, here, like if I'm going to make this picture of this little earth right there in the middle of the t-shirt up there, I didn't design that. I found a picture and the kids traced it. So it's a way to kind of cheat the system a little bit, in that you don't have to be a great artist, but you can make really wonderful things with this tool. So how this is going to work now is I'm going to show you some projects. These are going to be the homework assignments. So if I flip back over here, can you guys see the silhouette homework Google assignment now? Okay, I'm gonna take your silences, yes.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So this is the silhouette homework assignments that after the presentation's over, I'm gonna be sending these to you. So essentially what you're going to do is you're gonna go online and you're gonna download the software to your computer. There's a link right here. You either have to download the Windows 64 or 32-bit, and there's some instructions on here to help you figure out if you have a 64 or 32-bit machine if you don't know. Or this drop-down menu will also allow you to download this software to a Mac. It unfortunately won't work on a tablet. The first project you're going to do is to design a sticker. So you're going to make some kind of a sticker for yourself with your name and your subject or your classroom underneath it. This could go on your door, or you could put it on your computer or a clipboard, whatever you want. So it can be as big or as little as you want when we actually cut it out. The next project is, so here we go, go back over here. Here's project 1, making this little sticker for you. The second project is going to be creating a silhouette of an animal sticker. So this could be for your computer, for your coffee cup. It could just be a sticker you stick on the wall, or it could just be, you know, sticker you put on a piece of paper, it doesn't matter. The next project is you're going to design a tote bag. So I've got a bunch of these nice canvas totes, and you're going to create a tote bag for yourself that you could take to school. So it's going to be like, you know, semi-professional, but it could be something as simple as an apple with your name on it. Maybe you could create, depending on how much you get into this, you could create a little emoji of yourself and put that in your design. You could have your name. It looks like here's Coach Nelson. Maybe they're a sailing coach. Maybe if you're a math teacher, you have some like math stuff going on there. And I'm going to walk you through that process. And then project 4 is you're actually going to design a logo. So we use when we do this project, we use freelogodesign.org, which is a really wonderful free website that kids can use to create logos. And I'll walk you through that one too. After you've kind of gone through this whole process and just completed all 4 of those projects, then you're going to contact me. We'll set up a Zoom where you can show me your projects and I can give you a little feedback to see if anything needs any tweaking. And if everything looks good, then we'll set up a time for you to come into East. We'll actually make your projects. So we'll take your designs and we're going to make the stickers for your name sticker, your animal sticker. We're going to make your tote bag. We'll cut out your logo. So you have all of the different projects there. And then you'll get to take the vinyl cutter home with you that day, so that you can either use it in your classroom or just take it home and play with it a little bit. So what we're going to do to start is I'm just going to go back up here to the project 1 and kind of show you how you would make this project. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the other projects. But going back to the homework page here, so this one has the specifics. So you're going to design a sticker with your name in it and the subject or grade that you teach. Your name should be in a connected font. So a connected font just means that it needs to be cursive-like, but it doesn't actually need to be cursive. Some connected fonts don't look like cursive at all, but all it means is that some letters are connected to other letters. So for example, if we look here, the M isn't touching the R in Mrs., but the R and the S are connected. They're overlapping. And over here, the B and the A are connected, as are the I and the L. So some of the letters are touching the others. And then the subject or your grade is going to be a disconnected font that is some kind of a simple weed. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Your project should be grouped together, and it should be 10 inches wide and no more than 6 inches high. So those are the specifications of the project. So now I'm going to switch my sharing so that we can, here we go. So now you can see my Silhouette Studio page over here. So I'm going to make my little sticker. I'm going to click on, this is what Silhouette Studio looks like. We've got our workspace here. This is the white space is the vinyl that we'll be putting into the machine. So it's 12 by 12. We've got a bunch of different tools. We've got our basic pointer tool that's useful, rectangle or simple drawing tool. The A is the text tool that's obviously we're going to be making a sticker with our name on it. So we need that text tool. Over here, there's a bunch of more tools and we're going to use some of them. But for right now, I'm just going to click on this alpha tool. And first I'm going to type my name. So I'm going to write Miss Wallace. And then I'm going to grab another text tool over here and I'm just going to write Fab Lab. So I want my sticker to say Miss Wallace and Fab Lab. So I'm going to go and click on my name up here. I'll highlight it and then I'm going to choose a connected font. Now I can go to at the top of my screen, it says Arial drop down. Now my computer has a ton of fonts because I make stickers all the time. So I have a lot of different fonts. There are so many free font websites. You can go online. I like 1001freefonts.com, but there are tons of fonts. So if you just go to a font website, you can scroll through and find some fonts that you like, or you can just use the basic ones that are already on your computer, but it's not a problem to just download a font and add it to your computer. Any font that you do download and install on your machine will show up in Silhouette. So I'm just going to choose a font here that I know is connected. I'm going to choose this Always in My Heart. So if I zoom in, I need to make this a little bigger so I can see all my tools. There we go. So if I zoom in now on where I wrote my name up here, Miss Wallace, you can see that the A and the L over these letters over here are overlapping. So the red lines are those machine paths that the Silhouette would take. So if I were actually cutting this out to make my sticker, it would follow the outline of the W to create the W. It would cut out the whole A, including this bit right here, which would cut into the L. So if I were to cut this out the way it is, I would not have a pretty looking sticker. I'd have all these little cutout pieces and it wouldn't be that great. What I need to do is connect this A to the L and the L and so on so that I get one nice, this ALLLACE should be one pretty sticker. Now to do that, there's a very nice tool, really great feature in Silhouette called Weld. So I'm just going to click on my whole name here, Miss Wallace, and over on the right-hand side in these tools, there's this tool. No, I'm sorry. This one is actually up here on top. On the top next to the star, there's this rectangle and circle that are both grayed out. You can go down to this one on the right-hand side too, the rectangle and the circle, but there's a shortcut right on top where they're all grayed out. This says Weld Shapes into one shape. You click on it, it's going to connect those letters for us. So now when I look at the ALLACE, that is one sticker. The W is still going to be separate, but that's okay. That's how the font looks. So you can think, oh, see, when I pull it away, it's going to be one shape now. So you can imagine how that would look for different fonts. And you can choose whichever kind of connected font that you would like for that part. Now, some fonts work better than others. This font is nice because you could see there's nothing too skinny. There's no rigidy looking fonts. If there are fonts that are really, really fine, those just like, those aren't as, they're not as silhouette friendly. I guess that's one way you can put it. So if I just type something up here and I'll like just example. So if I were to change this example word into, let's do this Alex brush font, which is a really pretty font. But this font, if I were to weld that together, you can see how fine, how skinny that little connection is between the A and the M and the M and the P. That would, it might cut okay, kind of what Sharon was bringing up earlier, like sometimes it's hard, the machine messes up fine work. It probably would cut okay, but it also might not. It could get jagged, like snagged on there. And it definitely would be difficult to weed and to transfer. So anything that has really fine parts, that's not a great font choice. The other one that isn't my favorite font, actually, you know, it's a pretty cool font, but it's a terrible font for vinyl cutting. It's called Rage something. Here we go, Rage Italic. So Rage Italic, I made my example word Rage Italic, and I'm going to press the weld button again to make it one nice word. And when I zoom in on it, while it is connected, the closer you zoom, this font is not like smooth at all. See, every letter is like jaggedy. And I think if you imagine what an X-Acto knife would have to do to cut that out, the machine's going to be like wiggling a lot, and that's just going to increase the chance that it's going to snag or that it's going to tear the material or just mess up in some way. So any kind of font like that that has too much going on, that's not a great font choice. Now the last example I want to show you of a not great font choice. Let's see if I can zoom out. There we go. Here we go. This font choice, Joker Man, which is a very fun font. This is not a connected font, but it's good to just talk about at this point. Let's find it. Joker Man, here it is. So Joker Man, you can't, like if I click on it and then press the weld button, nothing's going to happen because no letters here are overlapping at all. But for this font, this is just not a great font because it's not an easy weed. If I were to go in and weed this, I would need to pull it apart and be really careful in many different areas, all these little jagged bits, as well as all these extra dots that you need to be careful of. So there are some fonts like this that are really fun, but if you're weeding something, maybe if you're just making one sticker, it wouldn't be bad, but I accidentally used this font when I was making 20 of something for like 20, what was I making? I was making tote bags for the teachers in the STEM Fab Lab teacher program in my first year. And I had to do this for 20 different times. It was miserable. So fonts that are jaggedy, fonts that have skinny connections, or fonts that have too many like wiggly bits, those are just going to cost you more work in the long run. Okay, I'm going to delete my little example font, get rid of that. And now I'm going to think back to my sticker. So here I have Mrs. Wallace, and next I'm going to go down here to the Fab Lab part of my sticker. And the second kind of part of the sticker said this one should be a disconnected font. So for this guy, I don't want Arial because that's kind of boring, but let's go through and just find a easy to weed, nothing too fancy, nothing with anything too skinny, and definitely nothing with weird little, like this is a good example, curls. Cute font. Not a great font for vinyl cutting. Those little curls are going to be difficult to weed. I'm just going to choose this robotic-y Fab Lab font. I'm going to put that right underneath my name, Mrs. Wallace there. So for this one, again, if I were to weld it, nothing's going to happen because all of those letters aren't connected. I am going to make my Fab Lab bit a little smaller. I just want that to be smaller underneath my name. And then I'm just going to show a couple of little tricks. So the first thing, if I grab this M and pull it away, you can see the M is separate from the rest of my name. So I'm just going to press this little arrow up here to undo that. And now I'm going to draw a selection box around the Miss and the Wallace. So I've selected my name part of it. And I want to group those together. So I can either choose up here. We've got all these different, these are the forward ones. I don't think there's a group. Here it is, group selected objects. So Silhouette Studio is very different. It does all the same things as CorelDRAW and Adobe Illustrator, but all of the buttons are in a different place. And sometimes I find myself being like, here's the group, nope, here's the group button. So I'm going to click on these little 2 squares with the dots around it to group my shapes. You can also do Control G if you are used to doing that. By grouping them now, when I click on it, if I move it around, it'll all move together. I'm going to do the same thing in the bottom with the Fab Lab, group those together. And then I'm going to put it underneath so that it lines up. The last thing I want to do is align them. So I want the Fab Lab bit to be directly underneath so that they're nice and centered. To do that, I'm just going to select Mrs. Wallace and Fab Lab. And up here in the top bar, there's these 3 little bars with a line through them. This is our alignment tool. And you can kind of look at where these bars are and figure out, well, this one means they'd align across the middle horizontally. Here they'd align across the center vertically. So I want this center one, and now it's directly in the middle. The last thing I'm going to do is to select my whole sticker, so Mrs. Wallace and Fab Lab, and then I'm going to group that. So now I have 1 sticker all together. And then thinking back to the specifications that were in the homework, it said that it should be 10 inches wide and no more than 6 inches high. So I'm just going to make it nice and wide. Let's see. So over here, if I make it 10 inches wide, I can just kind of keep playing with this to try and get it directly on the 10. Or I can right click on it and go to, there's like a, nope. There used to be a, like, you could click right here and make it exactly 10. Man, all these updates. It's okay. 9.59. That's fine. So now we have it's 9.59 inches by almost 3.5 inches. And that's it. So we are done with project 1. People always ask about the color. So if you click on your shape, you can change the color if you want on it. Over here on the right-hand side, there is this like fill panel. You can make it pink. You could make it yellow. You can make it whatever color you want. Color doesn't matter because remember, we're just cutting it out. It's just a tool path. How you determine the color of your sticker is what color vinyl you put into the machine. So you could change the color if you want just for your own sake, but the color doesn't matter. So that's how we make the very first sticker. You can see kind of like the bare basics of how you would use this machine or how you would use this software. The last thing I'm going to show you is just how to really quickly make a shape of an animal, and then we'll go kind of circle back to the other projects in just a second. So I'm going to jump back to here we go, jump back to the internet, and I'm going to make a squirrel. I always do squirrels. I'm going to do an octopus. So to make a sticker of an octopus, I'm going to type in octopus silhouette. So you'll quickly learn how to spell silhouette because it's a tricky one. But when you are searching for shapes, you do want to type in silhouette. So then you're going to get really black and white shapes. If I click up here to images, you can see I'm just getting like a really simple outline. And when you think about which one you want to choose, again, you want to be thoughtful about that. Some just like the fonts. If I do this one, like these first couple ones, anything in the top row, there's not too much going on. But if I look at this one down here, you can see all those little dots for the little sucker thingies on the tentacles. That's going to be difficult for the machine to cut out if I make them too small. And it's really going to be a pain to weed to pull all of those out. This one is going to be not a great option to make a sticker out of, right? All of those zigzaggedy lines in there, that's going to be a more difficult sticker. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to choose this one. This guy's kind of cool looking. So to make a sticker, you right click and you choose save image as. So I'm going to save this as the octopus into my downloads folder. And then now I need to, let's see if I can screen 2, here we go. So now I want to like insert that octopus into my, into Silhouette. So I'm going to open up my files. Here's just my like file finder or whatever you want to call it on your computer. And you can see right here, my downloads folder, there's the octopus I downloaded today. I'm going to grab this octopus and drag him into Silhouette. So now if I close this out and make this larger again, now you can see the octopus is right there on in my Silhouette. He's way too big right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is just resize him and make him more size appropriate. Here we go. Now it's just a picture. So if I go back up to my Mrs. Wallace and change the fill back to just white, remember what we're looking for is that tool path, that red line. That's the path that the vinyl cutter is actually going to take to make the sticker. Down here, I have no red lines. This is just an image. So the silhouette actually doesn't even recognize this image as anything. If you were to send this to a machine to cut right now, it wouldn't do anything with the octopus part. To make this into a sticker, we're going to use the trace function. I mentioned that earlier, that Silhouette has a great trace feature. Trace is over here on the right-hand side. It's about a quarter of the way down. It's this one that looks kind of like a butterfly. So if you click on the trace panel, your trace options are going to open up over here. You'll select trace area up at the top. And then you're going to just draw a selection box, which turns into this gray box around what you want to trace. So I'm going to draw a box all the way around my little octopus. When I release my mouse, it turns yellow. So it shows me right away what I would be cutting out. And I can still like move this around and do other stuff with it, but I want to cut out the whole octopus. And to do that, I'm just going to go down the bottom of my trace menu and click trace. There are some other options on here. I can increase the threshold or decrease it. Nothing's really going to change here because it's a pretty simple shape. But if you were trying to like cut out the silhouette of a person, you could change that to get more or less detail. So I'm just going to click trace. And now when I click my image and drag it away, I no longer need the image of that octopus, so I can delete that. And now here we've got a really nice cutout of a sticker of an octopus. And then I could just make it smaller or bigger. Let's make it about 4 inches. Perfect. Now I have my first 2 projects are complete. My name and what I teach. And then I have the silhouette of an animal. So after you do these 2 projects, you're going to continue on the designing a tote bag project. And then lastly is the free logo design project. So let's go back to over here. In the homework assignments at the bottom, it says, need some help? Check out this video. I haven't linked those in there yet. I have one more video I need to make tomorrow. So by the time that you go into this, like tomorrow afternoon, you'll have links to all the videos. That'll just be more examples of me using the machine and talking through how to use Silhouette. So you can click on that for some assistance. There's also just like, there are so many videos of just that, of people talking through how to use Silhouette. Like Sean Carruthers mentioned before, if you just Google it, you're going to find tons of tips on how to use this software. So the last project that you're going to go through is to design your own logo. So I do have like an activity that you're welcome to use if you want to, you're welcome to check this out if you'd like to. You don't need to use it. You don't have to go away. You don't have to use it, but you're welcome to use it, or at least check it out while you're doing this activity. The first part is to look at all these logos and try to identify as many of them as you can. So as this loads, there's like, there's cars and Facebook and Yahoo and all these different things just to get kids thinking about logos. Here we talk about like different types of logos. So we've got abstract and mascot and word mark. So you can kind of think about that, different kinds of logos. How logos have changed. We kind of mentioned that before, how Pepsi has changed versus how Coca-Cola has changed. And then kids are going to be designing their own logo. So the first thing you really want to think about here is like, well, what are they designing for? You don't just want them to be like, okay, go design a logo. Well, designing for maybe for a school logo or a club or a class. They could redesign a logo for a famous company. So maybe they choose Nike and you say, make me a new Nike logo. Like with the local nonprofit, like the project I mentioned before, they could have to create their own product or their own business, or they could design their own symbol with a meaning, kind of like the yin or the yang sign, something that we just look at and we recognize as what that means. So all of these symbols can be made on this freedesignlogo.com or .org, I'm sorry. There's also some other resources on here. There's a really cool art logo design lesson. There's this band logo lesson I found online. Khan Academy has a design a logo for the 4 to 9 years activity. And there's a lot of Teachers Pay Teachers lessons on there too, if you wanted to find one that has specific content connections. But freelogodesign.org is this wonderful website. Like in the name, it is free. You can log in, you don't have to, you can sign up. But essentially you're just gonna like type in, let's say I'm gonna make a babysitting website or babysitting logo. I'm just gonna type get started on there. And it's gonna show me some examples. Maybe I want babysitting with an ice cream cone or babysitting with some ramen noodles. So it's just kind of pre-populating ideas. But you can also go over here with some specific categories. So there is like children and childcare option. So now it's giving me ones that maybe make a little more sense, like an actual baby or a family in there. This is just to get some ideas. The kids shouldn't just be taking one of these logos and kind of using one of them. But essentially you can go up here to the top and say start without template. This will give you a blank workspace. And then you could add text. Over here, I could type in like Sarah's babysitting. And then I could add some cool stuff. So I could add an icon. I'm going to type in, oh, I think it already knows because I typed in babysitting. It's smart. But maybe I like pick any of these guys, but I can just grab it and kind of throw it on here or double click maybe. There we go. The first one went on there too. So I only need one. You can delete that guy and then say, well, how would does this make a good logo? Should I add more stuff? These letters, am I going to just put this underneath? Like, should the name of my company be beneath this little house? Or should I kind of put it in front of it? I can make it a different color. Sorry, this isn't moving right now. There we go. You could think about making the letters here white instead of black. And I could make it smaller. Come on. It's right behind it. So I think if you click on it and somewhere there should be like an order button. This one maybe? Yeah, order. I want this to be on front. I want the house to be in the back. Bring to front. Oh, I made the color transparent instead of making it white. There we go. All right. So you could make the letters like this. So this logo would be a house with this little baby and my name kind of cut out of it. So that's just like, I did that in 2 seconds. But your kids can play around with this. They can add lots of different things. They can make the words curved. They can make it, they can do different colors, but you want them to just design in one color. So you should be designing just in one color because you're only going to be cutting your logo out of one color of vinyl. It's a really fun little activity, fun little free website that you can use. To download this, you can just press download and then you're going to be able to save it. You click to the free version of it is the low res version. Of course, you can pay for more of them. This is, it would be $40 per logo. So it's not like you pay $40 and you get as many as you want. Well, that's how they get you. But you would just press download and then it gives you an email address. So your kids can put in their email address or they could put in your email address to send you the logo. I actually think that it's easier instead of downloading it when you're in this edit version to instead just take a screenshot or use your like clipping tool and grabbing it that way. So now I've got my little logo. You could then save this and pull that into Silhouette and do the tracing there. A lot of times when you trace little words like this, they might not come out that great, but you could just use the text tool in Silhouette and that'll be able to help you clean them up a little bit. So that's kind of the very bare basics. Again, there's a video that I'll post tomorrow that you can go through to show you some more on how you can create these logos a little more easily. And then there's also in the presentation here down at the bottom, there's some tips for Silhouette. So how we use those weld and trace features. There's a bunch of tips on how to use free logo design or freelogodesign.org that'll help you create some great logos. And once you finish all 4 of those activities, you're going to come into the lab, you'll get some training and you'll be able to use one of these machines yourself. The last thing I want to really quickly show you is silhouetteamerica.com is silhouetteamerica.com is the Silhouette website. And they have 2 great resources. The first of which is silhouette101.com. This is their tutorial site. So they have a nice little getting started There's some, this is more of like trying to get you to buy it, but you can look through here. We did talk a little bit before about like the tool adapters, how you can get those like specific blades or dual cartridges, things like that. Then there's a bunch of tutorials in here. So there is tutorials on 12 quick how-tos. I think that's a really nice one. It just has really basics, cutting basics, how to do stamps. You can make stamps with this. So there are some nice little tutorials on there. You can also, if you go to the category option, there is a school projects category that you can see some projects that they've used for school that they say are school projects. I don't know how much of this is like cake topper for Memorial Day is a school project, but sure. And then lastly, there's some videos down here for software or tutorials for the software. There's some classes you could take if you felt like doing that one, but there's just some cool stuff in there. And then the last one is the Silhouette Design Store. So this is a store. So this is things that you would pay for, but you can, when you scroll through, there are just some really nice things and they are cheap. They add up because I've gone through and been like, oh, I don't want to make these like fancy butterfly designs. And then all of a sudden I've spent like $17 on butterflies. But you can look through and see some really, there's a lot of holiday stuff in here. You can type in projects. So if you wanted to type, if you were doing a project on butterflies, because that's the only thing in my head right now, you could type butterfly and it'll just, there's no results for butterfly. Oh, it's because I spelled butterfly, huh? Oops, there we go. You could just see there's obviously going to be tons and tons of different butterfly options on here. If you wanted to buy them, great. Some are 99 cents. This one is $7.99. And there are other projects in here. This is a cool thing. If you are going to spend your money on something, I would look at the projects. So obviously I would not spend my money on a butterfly design when you can use the trace feature to make one your own. But if you did want to spend your money on how to make like this cool mushroom candle holder thing, that's kind of interesting. I've never seen that before. You want to make a box for fall candy, or creating animals that fold up, or these hearts. This is a place where you're going to get some really cool ideas on what you could make with this machine, or just a place where, you know, you said, this looks amazing. I want my kids to make transportation things like this, and I don't have the time to go through and show them how to do this step by step. We're just going to buy this file. That's perfectly okay too. So after this is over, I'm going to send you the link to the intro slides, as well as the link to that homework assignment. The videos will be posted tomorrow, so you'll be able to click through there. And now it's up to you. You can get to it if you want, if you're excited and you want to start working on that homework part over here right now, great. If you want to wait till break, if you want to wait till next summer, it's all up to you. I am 100% here. So if you feel like you are totally stuck and can't do this on your own, that is fine. Let me know. I can help you over Zoom, or we can find a time where you can come into East after school and we can work on that. If you just have a quick question, you can always text me. I'm only a FaceTime away that I can see what you're making and maybe give you a little tip that way. And as soon as you complete those projects, we can get you into East to make them, get you some more machine training before you get one of these to take back to your classroom. Any questions?
Do you have an abundance of transfer tape?
I have an abundance of transfer tape. That is,
okay.
Yes, we have lots of transfer tape. We have tons of vinyl. We have sticker vinyl as well as heat press vinyl. Most of the heat press vinyl is black. That just seems like what tends to be the easiest, but I do have a few other colors. Transfer tape can also be reused. So if you were having your students make labels for their lockers or something like that, you could give a group 3 kids, you could have them use one piece of transfer tape. It's not going to be reused forever, but you could use it 3, 4, 5 times before it loses its stickiness and you do need to move to another piece. So give that a shot before you use an abundance of it. But I do have lots of transfer tape.
Well, I don't have any of it.
Really?
I forgot to get that the last time I was there. So.
Oh, okay. So it should have come in the box of the machine that you have, but it might not have. I might have opened it up and used it for something else.
Yeah.
Also, use, like if you wanted to make something tomorrow, first, like, right, you could get it on Amazon. It'll be in your house in 2 days. You could also use masking tape or painter's tape if you have that like thicker painter's tape. So it's you could make other products work for it, but I do have some for if you want to get some the next time you come in.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that was very good.
Okay, sorry to just talk at you for an hour, but I feel like sometimes, it's easier just to be like, here's all the information you need, and we can go over the specifics of it later if you need more help.
No. Yeah, I was going to buy a new Cricut, but after seeing what this does, where you can design with it, no way.
Right, and that's the difference, right? So your Cricut, you were kind of limited by looking at other people's designs or what was available. And that's also like, we want our kids to go through the design process. We want them to iterate and to make things better. And you can't do that with a Cricut.
Right. No, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, that's it. I hope